I'm going to chat about the lessons I learned in making my first feature film, Comfort, which was in 2016. I'm going to talk about the lessons I learned in three general areas. First, I'm going to talk about team building, what I learned in crewing up the project. I'm actually going to skip through production, and I'll go into why a little bit later, and then talk about the festival circuit we did and also the strategy we took in to get distribution for the feature film. And lastly, I'm going to end on endgame and bring up some questions that I think every filmmaker should ask themselves when embarking on an endeavor like making a feature film. So team building. Recently I got back into playing video games, so I thought this quote from Zelda would be appropriate. It's dangerous to go out there alone. And Comfort really started to gain momentum and pick up and start becoming a reality for me when I started picking my team. And I think that's for the reason because, when you're starting out as a writer-director, it's you're alone. It's just you and your idea. But once you start picking team members, then you have people you need to be accountable for. Because beforehand, you'd miss a deadline on your first draft and you'd feel terrible, but what do? You just slap yourself on the wrist. Once you gain team members, then the stakes are up. You've got deadlines. In picking my team, consider the following items. And I think the first one, fellow band members. The band analogy is pretty appropriate, right? In a band, ideally, you want to pick people that you vibe with, that are drumming to the same beat as you are. You're coming together, hopefully harmonizing and creating a beautiful piece of music. And it's very much the same thing with the film crew. As a first-time filmmaker, you're probably going to face a lot of obstacles. You want to avoid, toxic personalities right off the bat because they can sink your ship immediately. One thing, I took a extension course at UCLA. It was an intro to entrepreneurship. And one of the things the instructors talked about was entrepreneurs are always looking for a way to reduce risk in their hiring of employees. And how do they do that? One of the factors they look at is, can I pick some classmates? Can I pick some alumni? And the reason for that is there's a shared history you guys have, right? You have gone through the same education. You might have shared the same professors. So in picking your team, maybe pick classmates because they've gone through the same curriculum that you have. Lastly, or second to last, look at your new team members as fellow workout partners. And don't be afraid to pick out people who are stronger than you, who are quote unquote faster runners. Because if they're running at a faster pace, you will have to run faster yourself to keep up with them. So you will get pushed, and I think that's a great thing. Lastly, look at veterans who have been through the experience so they can share their experiences and hopefully point out the mistakes that they made, the roadblocks that hopefully you can navigate and overcome. One quick tidbit that I learned from Comfort, we scheduled our production film, we shot in late January into February. One thing that I learned from my veteran crew members, they said, you can if you schedule your film after the network television production cycle ends, not everyone immediately bolts for vacation. You can get a lot of veteran TV crew who wants to work, and they'll be willing to work at a lower rate. But for example, you'll bump them up in title on your feature film. So for example, somebody who normally does say Crafty for a network television series, you offer them a first AD role, you'll be able to get them via that negotiation. Lastly, with respect to picking your team, I call this the core four. And if you have these four elements in good shape, your film will be in exceptional shape. And that first starts with the script, right? That's your foundation. And I think a great script with engaging characters, a unique high concept that no one's seen before, that will supersede other areas that you may be lacking because of your limited resources. So it all starts with the script. Next is a solid producer. I'm incredibly grateful for one of my friends, Eric Martinez, for putting me in touch with Mark Heidelberger, who produced my film and did a phenomenal job. Bouncing back to what I said about fellow band members who you vibe with, very early on, Mark actually I think said to me, "Hey, you and I, work at the same pace. When we say something, we get it done," and we both really respected each other for that. You obviously also want a director with hopefully a clear vision, and then lastly, a strong director of photography. Mark put me in touch with yet another veteran, Ashish Gandhi, who shot my film. And what was great about Ashish, again, a veteran, he had a couple feature films with underneath his belt already. What's great about Ashish, not only did he, shoot and light our film beautifully, really knew where to place the camera. I really appreciated Ashish for his set presence. He kept things very light, and we shot a lot of nights on Comfort, and he always maintained his spirits very high. So that's the core four. Always, it starts with the script. With a great script, you're going to be able to attract a lot of talent both in front of and behind the camera. Because if you've got a great script with great characters, people will want to be a part of that. So I'm skipping through production because in the grand scheme of things, production is really a short little slice of the timeline pie of your film's life. On Comfort, we shot 17 days of principal photography with 2 days of pickup, so less than 3 weeks. Compare that to the months, almost years of development. There's a reason why they call it development hell. And then, you're in post for a few months, and then your festival tour may be around a year. So production is actually a pretty short slice of the timeline, and that's why I'm skipping over it. So I'm going to go straight into, okay, I made a film, now what? Comfort, we followed a pretty, I think, traditional role in our path to distribution. We applied to festivals. We hope to get into festivals. We hope to get awards at these festivals to boost our profile. Then we scheduled a distributor screening. We were fortunate enough to get some bites from distributors who were interested, and then we got a distribution deal. I want to talk about the festival process. I think of it as applying to college in a sense. So on one level, you want to start out with your reach festivals, the Ivy Leagues. You want to aim for the Sundances, the South by Southwest, Cannes, and Toronto. These festivals are super competitive to get into. At the same time, if you are fortunate enough to gain acceptance, you most likely will get a lucrative distribution deal. And if not, it is. I think I read a statistic. It's almost like a 1 in 1,000 chance to get into Sundance. So it is like winning the lottery. It is tough to get into. Then you have your next tier festivals. Tribeca. In our case, it was CineQuest, LA Film Festival. And when you're applying to festivals, create a plan. Look at the schedule on where they fall in the calendar. Most importantly, check your premiere requirements. Most festivals, and it's a marketing tool for them, they want to boast like, hey, this is the world premiere. And consequently, having a world premiere at one festival will definitely take you out of other festivals. As a side note on Comfort, LA Film Festival, we had applied there, didn't hear from them. We got accepted into CineQuest and reached out to LA Film Festival. Comfort set in LA, so we thought it would be a good match festival-wise. We had reached out to LA Film Festival. Hey, we got accepted into CineQuest, but we also are interested in your festival. I know you only take world premieres. Is it possible to get an early decision? Never heard back from them, so we accepted our invitation at CineQuest. Then I forget, a few weeks later, we get an email from someone at LA Film Festival. Hey, we love your film, just wanted to double check, is it a world premiere? And we said no, we got accepted into CineQuest, and we had reached out to you guys. And they apologized for some miscommunication. But it all worked out in the end. Then we had our distributor screening after our festival tour ended. At the screening, you want to have some sell sheets ready. And I brought some examples, so feel free to take some. And also screeners for any interested parties. All those materials remind me that, spend your money wisely because it can add up. There's a reason why, the print and advertising budget is a significant line item in any film, a studio film or an independent film. So you want to spend your money wisely. Festival applications, even with the advent of just uploading films and having online screeners. So postage costs are down, but still the fees for these festivals add up. You're going to need promotional materials when you get accepted into festivals. You want to promote your film, right? So postcards, screeners, you're going to need a website, you're going to need a trailer cut. And then at this point, you probably need to expand your team. We had a social media manager, actually our principal actor, Chris, and Rira did a great job. That was a really smart investment. We hired another editor to specifically cut a theatrical trailer for us. And that was money well spent because cutting a trailer for a movie is a specialized skill set. We actually reached out to our editor first, and he actually recommended Meredith, who cut our movie trailer. And it's a very specialized skill set. It's not simply, let's just put the highlights in your film. And I'm so grateful. That was money well spent. You're going to need someone to design your posters. And lastly, a publicist. We got a publicist through our distributor, but they mainly came on to promote our VOD launch. And part of me, they were great. We got onto websites like IndieWire, we got radio interviews, online interviews. They were lovely. I almost feel that they could have come on earlier in the process, but of course, if they came on early in the process, that's another person to pay. But those are definitely key personnel that you should consider adding to your team. Lastly, the last topic I want to talk about is the end game. It is the last topic I want to talk about, but it's actually, I think, the first topic you should ask yourself if you decide to make a feature film. What is your ultimate goal? Consider, like in Comfort's case, do you want to have a solid festival run, boost your profile of your film, and gain distribution? Do you want it as a calling card? Do you want this as something that hopefully will get you meetings for either representation, a manager or an agent, to rep you as a director? Is this also a tool for you to get a studio deal? Also, do you want to get as many eyes on this movie that you made, and do you want to maybe make money out of it? And so for this last point, I think it's very interesting to point out this next quote is from an Economist article. They say, since 2002, the median return on an investment at the box office for films released in North America with budgets of less than 10 million has been 45 cents on the dollar. And I will tell you flat out, Comfort, we're not even at 45 cents on the dollar. We're much lower than that. So if you are trying to make a movie that will be profitable or even break even, then you definitely want to consider stacking the deck in your favor. And some ways of stacking the deck in your favor, I would say first, pick a genre that maybe sells well universally. I think there's a reason why horror films, there's a lot of indie horror films because that can sell in various foreign markets. The other big way to stack the deck in your favor is hire name talent. There's a reason why Robert Downey Jr. gets paid tens and tens of millions of dollars, because he guarantees people will come to the movie theater. Now, your first time out, you're probably not going to be able to afford Robert Downey Jr., but one of the biggest things I learned from my casting director, she said, you can get name talent for scale prices. And that's a lot of reasons why you see some kind of stunt casting in independent films where there's a juicy cameo role, and then with a recognizable TV actor, and then of course they use that person and plaster them all over posters, even though they're in the film in a pretty small role. So those are things to consider. For me, I went into Comfort simply, it was a life goal of mine. I had gone into film school. I wanted to make feature films. I wasn't 40 at the time, but I definitely, now I'm 40, but I was definitely feeling I wasn't getting any younger, and so it was simply a life goal for me. The festival run, the awards, and getting a distribution deal, that was all gravy. Would it have been nice to make a film that broke even or made a profit? Of course, but ultimately it was just about fulfilling a life goal, and I think that's one of the reasons why I remain sane. And the last thing I want to leave you with is the legend of Sisyphus. The guy who was fated to roll a heavy boulder up a mountain repeatedly. And I feel that's kind of the fate an independent filmmaker chooses. And so I may have pushed a rock up a mountain with this first one, but for the next one, and hopefully there'll be a next one, it's back to ground zero, pushing maybe an even bigger rock up a steeper hill.